Before I speak of this tale, I must warn thee of the terrors which hath been writ of. Horrors of the flesh, be it mutation or gore, and soul horror follow, as does the depravity of apathy and the deprivations of the wilds on the human body. Hail and well met to the reader of this tale. This tale is titled The Prayers of a Weaponsmith, and was transcribed by Venturis League scribe Gong Ti Xiang, he, him, and she, her. To all who read this record, be mindful of the horrors of the flesh and mutagenic, visceral, and soul forms, as well as the depravity of apathy and the deprivations of the wilds upon the human body. Hearken these words and remember them for all those that were, are, and shall be. Few know of the torments of the weaponsmith and of the armorsmith who crafts the arms and armor of their fellow mortal. In the province of Song of the Heavenly Dynasty, there is a prayer which is spoken by weaponsmiths as they forge weapons of steel for the armies of the sacred king under heaven. This prayer has been told by the weaponsmith Mon Zi Lung, he, him. When one is given the raw iron ore by the miners covered in the soot of the deep earth and covered in hides scarred from their hard trade, they ply, one says, "Thank you, immortals of the earth, for this ore." With the sacrifices of the miners who strike at your wonders with pick and hammer, I shall forge such things to protect the weak and slay the beast and devil. When one then takes the ore and separates it by the quality of the ore, they may see. The red hue of iron comes in varying degrees, which the Heavenly Dynasty forgers separate into 4 qualities based on color. A light orange is one that is weak, but is still present. This ore is saved for the most desperate of times, for to extract it requires much work for little gain. Many smiths during sieges or times of terror shall use these stores to supplement iron for minor repairs and small items. The second quality is a darker orange, and is the common iron that is hauled from the earth. This iron is the kind all weaponsmiths use to create their tools. When mixed with liquid stone, the result is a hard black material that can be cast into anvils and large hammerheads, for this compound cannot be sharpened. The third quality of iron is scarlet, and is found only in areas where fire naturally meets the iron, and so scorches it to have a hot core and desire to slay. The last quality of iron ore is a rare sanguine color. This ore is only found in the shadow of the Feng Huang's volcanic mountain ranges, and is the hardened lava slag so dangerous to procure and cart from the distant north to the south. Only the sacred king under heaven's personal weaponsmiths can purchase it out of their own wealth caches. Other metal ores shall be taken too, but it is for iron that a prayer is said. As the weaponsmith begins piling up the fuel for their forge, they carve characters pleading for long-lasting tinders into the desiccated wood, which is then wrapped in dry grasses and placed on a small pile of charcoal. A fire is then lit and stoked by the apprentices of the forger. To create and keep a consistent flame is essential, for unlike other metallurgic practitioners, Heavenly Dynasty smiths believe that fire's emotions, if not controlled, will bring bad luck. To soothe and stoke the fire, the flame, the apprentices say, "Fire, great gifts of Suren, please burn like you do for Zurong. Accept our offerings of wood and charcoal to feast on and covet for hours. Let us keep warm and make ready the tools of war against the beast, the debased, and the abhorrent things. May you be pleased and content to not raise our grounds or slumber in your death." Once the flame is true, the apprentices hold the raw ore in place with tongs and hold it in the roar of the flames before it is pulled out and beaten upon the anvil. This breaks away any large impurities before it is placed in the fire and set to burn for hours. The amateur smiths stoke the fire and replace the fuel under the guidance of their teacher. They watch as the iron within melts and pours into the depths of the fire or into large earthen vessels where it may pool. And so too is their prayer for the smelting of iron ore. The ringing of a bell with every drop into the vessel accompanies the low whistles for extraction as from the flesh of the earth comes its metallic blood. Give us your blood, O hard and shadowed earth. May tree and fire give way to water from earth. Air flow through the lungs of our bellows, and our burning heart to call it. May you bleed true as the kin of the king does. From flesh cometh blood, and from blood cometh flesh, O earth endarkened. Once the last of the smelting has taken place, further purification begins. Sacred oils and waters are splashed onto the material. A priest then must enter the forge and step on the cooled ore. There they must pray to the immortals for the spirit of the material to be receptive to the unknowable alchemies and sorceries of the smith's craft. Scrolls of protection are nailed to every doorway in the building to prevent evil spirits from entering. If one lets an immortal of malice or trickery into the forge, then the metal shall become weak and break when used, costing many lives. Every person, from the priest to the guiding weaponsmith, must scour themselves with a bundle of prickly vines soaked in vinegar to cast out any ill intentions or clinging spirits from the flesh. The exorcised evils are placed into a chicken to be buried alive far from the settlement, so the curses within cannot stay nor escape and find their way back to the forge. The priest must then read from one of the 100 immortal divinations that guide craftspeople in the Heavenly Dynasty to finish blessing all. Again, a fire is created and prayers said. Fire, great spirit of Suren, please burn like you do for Zurong. Accept our offerings of wood and charcoal to feast on and covet for hours. Let us keep warm and make ready the tools of war against the beast, the debased, and the abhorrent things. May you be pleased and content to not raise our grounds or slumber in your death, they chant. So is the magical process of purification repeated until the forger is satisfied with the result. The molten slag dripping into the vessel is thanked greatly and told its intentions. If the metal is not told what its purpose is, then it shall not conform. Its spirit will be wild and thus cause its users many problems. All swords that have an untruthful will have not been told what their purpose is. You shall be forged into a great weapon for one whose hands will wield you. You shall be its servant, and they your master. You shall move swiftly and strike hard and true as they command. Never shall you miss if given the opening, nor shall you fly from the grip of your master and leave them without claw. You are a weapon, forged by me to serve another, to slay the rampaging beasts and terrors that stalk the land and give the unrighteous vindictive scoldings of the flesh. Never shall you break, and never shall you be lost. You are a weapon, to be used by one, and all to kill. This is your purpose, ordained by the immortals and completed by I. Serve your wielder truly, and glory shall be unto you as beauty is to the fair. In the end, an ingot shall be produced, which then must be used to create a weapon. The forging of a weapon of precise and requiring the most utmost attention of the weaponsmith is truly great indeed. If the weight is off, the wielder's strokes are diverted from the intended path. So too is the full damage of the weapon not synchronized. A spearhead whose weight is not even will offset the shaft, which too must be hewn and shaved perfectly. So are the rites of precision invoked as the hammer strikes the ingot. Become the blade that shall fell the foe with ease. Become the bane of all who defy the will of mortals under the divine mandate of heaven. Drive out the abomination prowling the wilds, for it feasts on the body of humans wantonly. Slay the apathetic who do not care for the love of their fellow human, and may you send their souls to the darkest of afterlives. Become the tool of vengeance who shall one day be forgotten and unneeded by those who shall be. This hammer strikes you into shape. Become the shape you have been ordained to become. And when the tool comes into shape, fire and air spirits are begged for their aid in creating their fire. A fire that shall warp the blade so mortals may correct it. During these critical moments, if the immortals are not given proper offering and pleas, they will say that the weapon and its creators are inferior and shall cause many deaths because of their failure. To placate the expectations of the gods, a smith must keep a consistent rhythm of fire treatment and hammer strikes. Every heavenly weaponsmith desires to create a weapon blessed by the immortals with perfect balance. A weapon forged with precise movements from the moment it was mined to its forging will have no peers. Blessed and purified water is gathered in an oaken cask. There is no consensus on a prayer for the submerging process when shaped metals meets raw water. All pray as the weapon is lifted from the cask. The product is carefully inspected by the weaponsmith. Imperfections are seen as signs of imperfection in the creators. Significant imperfections are destroyed and buried under the floor of the smith, and those mortal beings involved in making it are studied and sentenced by the master forger. A weapon that has passed scrutiny is fervently praised. It has holy herbs and oils rubbed onto the blade to ease its refinement into a killing item able to cleave apart any foe. When times are desperate, these steps are combined. The holy oils and herbs and water clash with one another, infusing the weapon with terrible power, called by the desperation of the weaponsmith to create a useful killing tool. These hastily crafted weapons strike with a reckless anger, but are made without respecting the order of creation. Evil spirits toy with it until it breaks catastrophically. Weapons crafted in this manner are adorned with seals and prayer wraps for reinforcement. Once forged, a weaponsmith takes the weapon and moves to a whetstone. Water is placed onto the granite wheel and a foot pump is pushed on to move it. As the weaponsmith does so, they say this: "Hewn granite, purest of the earth and flesh, give this weapon the sharpness needed to rend the limb and wound the flesh of any who oppose its wielder. Shatter bone and plate, chitin and skin. Do not lose your edge after battle by this sacred granite or be without truth. Gods of war, give this edge a sharpness that outmatches claw and fang so it may protect the souls of humanity." As one assembles the shaft or the grip of the weapon, many prayers are recited too, depending on the weapon's handle, its material, and its purpose. A sword is given the most detail, for it is often wielded by persons of a higher strata, or by a venturer, if it is so lucky. The lips of any weaponsmiths tremble and their hearts thump in their breast rapidly as they forge a sword or the polearm, as they require much iron and careful observation of their forging, lest there be imperfections in the long blade that may fail the user. It is why only a master weaponsmith and their chosen apprentice may work on the blade. Yet things such as crossbow bolts or arrowheads that are cast and forged in many multitudes are given little prayer and attention. All that matters is if it has some sharpness and may fit the shaft. These are the prayers of the weaponsmiths of the Song Provence of the Heavenly Dynasty, greatest kingdom in all of the world and father to empires. Transcription ends. Everywhere in the world are weapons blessed by their creators to serve a wielder. Weaponsmiths must constantly craft the tools of death, for every person born must have a weapon, and every soldier or warrior must have several. Every venturer and their followers must have many. Weaponsmiths are haggard and tanned persons from their trade as a metallurgist. Their hands are covered in scars and trembling from the strain of precise action. In times of strife, their forges burn night and day to produce weapons great and small. The unending action can drive a worker mad. It has been known some broken weaponsmiths stop, their bodies no longer willing to further ply their craft. while others bloody themselves as they grab metal and shove their hands in the forge before hammering the metal in their own hands while raving. The tiring work has also seen tired workers and large forgers falling into the fires themselves. These people are dragged from the forges, screaming and scarred, melting and peeling, like a charred beast cooked in its own fat. If a person is dead or cannot be rescued from the fire, then they are left there. The disgusting smell of burning human flesh causes its own saddening madness as the smiths behold a fellow worker, a fellow human, char and slough away, the humours bursting from speckles and webbed skin that only embolden the fire. The work never ends, for there shall always be a need for weapons until all are slain. And to all who were, are, and shall be that read this account, glory to you. Tales of Mortality is a world-building podcast set in the world of Asenscia, created and owned by Bard over 18 years and counting. It is a fantasy world of horror and madness, a planet racked by mutation and magic, where humanity survives only through itself and the Spirit Indomitable against horrors natural and unnatural. The Worldbuilder, writer, producer, and artist of the thumbnail is Bard. Me! Below is a transcription of lore, as well as a link to my Instagram, Bard of the Mad Realm, where I share art related to Asenscia. Thank you all for listening to Tales of Mortality. May chaos reign. Bye-bye.